I rise today at a time in which families in Arizona and across America are scared. For too long, they've seen unacceptable levels of violence in their communities, and it threatens their sense of safety and security. The morning after the tragic, horrible activity at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, we all felt that fear. We felt it when we spoke to our neighbors and our friends and checked on our loved ones to ensure they were okay. For decades, parents have lived with the unnerving uncertainty of what might happen when they send their children to school or attend worship services, go to the grocery store, or even simply let their kids play outside. For too long, political games in Washington, on both sides of the aisle, have stopped progress towards protecting our communities and keeping families safe and secure. Common sense proposals have been tossed to the side by partisan lawmakers choosing politics instead of solutions. Elected officials have made a habit of insulting one another for offering thoughts and prayers, for blaming violence on strictly mental illness or video games or particular kinds of weapons or any cause that didn't align with and confirm their own predetermined beliefs. Casting blame and trading political barbs and attacks became the path of least resistance, but the communities across our country who've experienced senseless violence deserve better than Washington politics as usual. Our communities deserve a commitment by their leaders to do the hard work of putting aside politics, identifying problems that need solving, and working together towards common ground and common goals. On May 24th, as news spread of the shooting in Uvalde and the 21 beautiful lives cut short, my friend and colleague Chris Murphy came to the Senate floor, and he asked the Senate one simple question: what are we doing? Why are we here, if not to solve a problem as existential as this? I'm grateful that colleagues on both sides of the aisle have answered Chris's question by resolving to do the hard work, build consensus, and find solutions. Senator Murphy, a tireless advocate for families in Connecticut, reached out to my friend Senator John Cornyn of Texas, offering his condolences and assistance. Senator Cornyn was in Uvalde, comforting families who were experiencing the unthinkable. And Senator Murphy had sadly been in a similar place 10 years before, at Sandy Hook. That same day, I reached out to Senator Cornyn and Senator Thom Tillis, two friends I've worked with to craft lasting bipartisan solutions, managing the crisis at our border and helping veterans access the benefits they've earned. We all plan to get quickly together to identify realistic solutions. Within one day, Senators Murphy, Cornyn, Tillis, and myself, all representing diverse states from across the country, sat down and started working together. That same day, we met with a larger group of 12 bipartisan senators, all of whom were eager to sit down, work together, and find a path forward. Those meetings started a 4-week process, considering and working towards a host of solutions that would save lives, make communities safer, and protect Americans' constitutional rights. As we wrote our bill, we viewed our conversations as collaborations, not negotiations. We refused to frame our work as giving something up to getting something in return, and we stayed laser-focused on our shared goal of reducing violence and saving lives across American communities. We acknowledged that the root of violence plaguing our communities is complex. It can be partly attributed to criminals with dangerous weapons and attributed to a mental health crisis affecting young people in cities and towns across America. We spent hours carefully considering policy provisions, ensuring that we got the language right and that every policy included in our bill could help save lives, help children learn and grow in healthy, supportive environments, and make our communities safer, more vibrant places. It was hard work. and it was worth it. Together, we put aside our differences, focused on our shared values, and crafted a bill that expands resources in schools to help kids grow and learn where they feel connected to their communities and where they know they can seek help if they need it. We boosted mental health resources through more community behavioral health clinics and increased access to telehealth services, ensuring that kids and families have access to care no matter where they live. Our mental health and school support proposals include evidence-based resources and programs that I saw help reduce violence when I was a young social worker serving in Sunny Slope and Shaw Butte elementary schools in Phoenix. Our provisions to protect more survivors of domestic violence will reduce the impact of trauma in children's lives all across the country, ensuring that more kids and families grow up in safe homes, free from violence and free from the fear of violence. And acknowledging the fact that the overwhelming number of gun owners are law-abiding citizens, we crack down on criminals who illegally sell or purchase guns and ensure that courts, consistent with clear due process rights, can keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of people who are dangerous to themselves and others. I'm the sister of a police officer, and I grew up in a family of gun owners. I know firsthand how fundamental the Second Amendment is to families across Arizona. Arizonans have a constitutional right to bear and keep arms, and that right will not be infringed upon. Instead, our Bipartisan Safer Communities Act ensures that our background check system works effectively and includes those who've committed dangerous crimes as juveniles or who have a history of domestic violence, protecting the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans while reducing familial violence and occurrences of childhood trauma. All of these tools together will give families in Arizona and across our country more peace of mind so they can trust that their communities are secure and their schools are safe. And critically, the broad bipartisan support of well over 60 senators from across the political spectrum, including both the Republican and Democratic Senate leaders, ensures that when our bill is signed into law, it will stand the test of time. You know, over the past few years, we've been told time and time again that bipartisanship just isn't possible. And even after proving bipartisan success with our historic infrastructure investment and jobs law last year, we continued to be asked by pundits and political purists to accept a new standard by which important policy can only come together on a party line. But that just isn't true. What could be more important than keeping families and children safe and secure in their communities and in their schools? The truth is, Americans are far more united than today's politics would have you believe. Ask our constituents in Arizona, Connecticut, Texas, North Carolina, and every state in between. Ask them what they want to see in Washington, and they'll tell you. An ability to work together to solve problems and help them build better lives for themselves and their families. Our bipartisan group of senators rejected the notion that legislating must be a zero-sum game with winners on one tally sheet and losers on another. Together, we provided an example for how Washington can and should work. We got out of our comfort zones, we built broad coalitions with unlikely allies, and we refused to demonize each other when things got tough. And I sincerely thank Senator Chris Murphy for his passion, Senator John Cornyn for his leadership, and Senator Thom Tillis for his pragmatism. Each of my friends and colleagues brought a unique perspective and expertise that allowed us together to craft the most holistic approach to community violence in nearly 30 years. I also want to thank all of our staffs, especially my legislative director, Michael Brownlee, and my counsel, Chris Loishton, for their tireless hours including working straight through Father's Day to get this bill right. You know, their efforts will save lives, help families across our country feel more secure, and make our schools safer. I promised Arizonans that I would be an independent leader for our state and that I would ignore the chaos of Washington and instead just focus on getting things done. It won't surprise anyone who might be listening today when I tell you that Washington hasn't always liked my approach. But our bipartisan bill demonstrates the difference that elected leaders can make in the lives of our constituents when we choose to heal our divisions instead of feed those divisions. Our historic legislation proves that bipartisan solutions are possible when we just stay focused on what we were sent to Washington to do, to solve problems, help Americans thrive, and ensure that our country remains a safe and secure place to call home. And on this particular bill, my colleagues and I joined together with a special sense of purpose to honor the lives that were tragically lost to senseless violence in Uvalde, in Buffalo, in Tucson, in Parkland, in Charlestown, at Sandy Hook, and in communities all across our country. Our plan will make American communities safer, and we will help return a sense of security to everyday American families. I couldn't be more grateful for this moment. Thank you, and I yield the floor.